There's a growing culture of violence in America. The cry to bring about change is one we all share. To change the violent assault on our society, we must encourage and support efforts to strengthen our families and communities. So it's critical that we instill a sense of personal and social responsibility in our youth at an early age. Every community has within it heroes who are bringing about changes in attitudes, perceptions, and actions, heroes who are helping to reduce violence, as well as society's acceptance of it as an unavoidable fact of life. I encourage you to listen to the people and ideas that are offering hope, and then become one of the many heroes who are working to prevent violence in our nation.
Everybody likes passing the buck, from the parent to the school team. The mother wants to pass it to the father wants to pass it to the mother.
Well, you don't know what you're saying, you don't know what you're talking about, and they get mad, and next thing you know, everyone's mad at each other and nothing gets solved.
Some kid wanted to fight me, and I honestly didn't know how to fight at that time. So I figured a knife would settle it all for me.
We've thrown money at symptoms: teen pregnancy, teen alcohol abuse, drug abuse, gang problems, and those are all symptoms of a larger problem.
I had friends that died, I had a lot of friends that died, but it didn't hit home till my brother died.
There was a 10-year-old young man in his home, and someone came in and shot his mother and cut his mother's hand off for stealing drugs. And they also cut off the hand of the child. The homicide detective said, "How did you get away with them not killing you?" And this 10-year-old child said, "I played dead." And I said to the child, "Show me how to play dead." This child laid in that hospital bed and played dead so well and for so long that all of us left the room to get the nurse to get some help.
The average American child will have spent more time watching TV by the age of 6 than that child will spend speaking to his father in a lifetime. It's horrifying.
We expect if we hire more police, give them bigger guns, build bigger jails, that we'll be able to fix the problem. But if jails worked, I think we would be building smaller ones instead of bigger ones.
They got to shooting my ball players, overdosing them, and when I woke up, I had been to 42 funerals in 1 year. That's too much. That was in 1986. I said, I'm not taking it no more.
You begin to understand that violence prevention is a question of fitting yourself into the human family, breaking down the boundaries, the barriers, the obstacles of connecting to other people.
And it's not just public health and criminal justice, it's interfaith, it's academic institutions, it's private sector, it's businesses.
What is going to replace government as the lead, the catalyst for dealing with human needs in our communities? And the answer that we're discovering is neighborhood partnerships.
I want to deal with the lady who's 65, whose daughter left the kids because the daughter's on crack. She's going to have to be the mother as well as the grandmother. I'm work with her. I'm talking about the guy that just got mugged last week, who's going to get his check, who's pissed off. I want to talk to him. I want to talk to the policeman who's so bitter and upset about the way he's treated. I want him in the battle. That's my family.
Not, the organization from the top where we get all the agencies to come together and to pool their resources and we throw money into a neighborhood. The fact of the matter is that approach doesn't work very well.
One of the striking things as I first came into this area is the imagination of what this community used to be like in this old part of Fresno, a beautiful part of our town that has basically gone down the tubes.
We were dealing with a very blighted apartment complex, owners that didn't care. They were just pulling the funds out of the place and were not putting anything back into it. Gangs were rampant.
I used to get mad a lot at what was going on, and that was nothing. And my wife used to go to school site meetings, and I said, "What news did you bring?" And she'll tell me, "Well, nothing's going on, this and that, same old thing, just nothing, just same old thing."
We have drug addiction, we have alcoholic parents, alcoholic adults around them, multiple substance abuse.
And I used to complain to her, why this, why that? How come they don't do this? Until she got mad at me and said, how come you don't go?
I read a series of 3 articles in our local newspaper, and those articles changed my life. I've told some of my friends that God spoke to me through the Fresno Bee. They looked at our highest crime, lowest income neighborhood through the eyes of kids. And as I read these articles, I saw my own kids. And that began a journey for us. We became a part of that neighborhood, the highest crime, lowest income neighborhood. It's called the Lowell community. Didn't go there with an agenda, but we knew that if we nail our shoes to the floor, we would know what to do next. A year and a half ago, I got a call down at my office. My next door neighbor kid had been shot. He was walking home from middle school. There was a gang altercation in front of a liquor store. A shot was fired, and the shot went across the street and hit him in the middle of the forehead. After all the despair and all the sorrow, what's left is this, is that it's unacceptable for a neighbor kid of mine to die on the streets of my neighborhood. How do we get a handle on the problem? How do we break it down into bite-sized pieces? How about if we take this large service bureaucracy and begin to decentralize it? How about if we have community-based policing, but also community-based daycare, community-based welfare services, community-based child protective services?
You need to make the arrests. You need to clean out the area. Then you need to come back into that area and come alongside those residents.
We began to say, let's rebuild our city one elementary school neighborhood at a time. First, there was a wave of private sector resources. That's churches and businesses and service clubs coming in to do things.
We hooked up with Youth for Christ and some other organizations. They had the labor force and the volunteers to get the work done, and we provided the materials.
We painted a house, and within a couple weeks we saw a house right next to it get painted. The neighbors did it. They saw some hope infused, a simple act of painting a house.
I see my community turning around. I see hope and growth and pride and joy where there wasn't in the past.
That's the new paradigm. Rebuilding our city one elementary school neighborhood at a time. Because all of a sudden it said, yes, we can do something.
When you see a police officer drive through your neighborhood in a car, big deal. But when you got one that walks up to your door, knocks on it and says, gee, I'm Officer so-and-so, and I'm here on your block, and I'm on this beat, is there anything I can do for you? I'll bet you that most people in this state would fall out of their door if an officer did that.
It's hard to hate someone who you see every day and who you talk to and who asks you how you're doing.
By getting officers to think differently about these issues, they will take the time, the opportunity to really sit down and scan to better understand what's going on, to try to analyze what are the factors at work here and who are the stakeholders, who are the people being impacted by this, and ultimately develop a strategy or a response that's appropriate to that particular set of circumstances or situation.
Counterforce, the helpful source, helping others, both sisters, brothers, looking at life in a positive way so we don't stray.
Now Fabian Lopez saying what's supper. This counterforce things makes me burn rubber.
Denise is playing the beats to keep us off the streets. You know how it goes when I start to flow.
Appreciate the way it works and the person who helps us, like Denise Quammen, because if it wasn't for her, I'd be in a fat coffin.
The Counterforce program was developed to target kids that are at risk.
So I figured a knife would settle it all for me.
At risk means they're having problems at home.
All he would do is go out, get drunk, you know.
They're having problems with their grades, truancy, running away.
I lived like underneath the bridge for a week.
It's a very, very, very difficult time to be an adolescent. You know, you hear that time and time again. I hear that from teenagers, and they're right.
How many kids can you take into the program?
We run at about 30. 30 is a lot of kids. Different businesses in the community volunteer the time. They're hired as part-time employees for the city of Vacaville, and we farm them out so that they get the experience.
I didn't think I was going to be able to work hard, but now that I'm here, I know that I can do it because I've experienced it.
When you're talking to them, try to find out, you know, what do you like to do? What would you like to do? Would you like to play basketball? Do you want a job? Do you want to get some help? If you see a kid that's got a lot of anger, which I'm sure you guys do, boxing is really good. And we have Taekwondo too. And this is all free of charge.
Many kids don't play basketball. They don't play tennis. But they have to have another outlet, and that outlet is art. When Henry first started, if I showed you some of the sketches that he showed, they were very violent sketches. Those classical sketches that he's doing now, he has organized his thinking to a degree in which he looks at things, observe them, analyze them, and put them on paper. That's a very, very big jump in 2-month study that the kid's been in.
They're getting mentoring in the employment aspect, from being around other youth who are motivated and employers who are helping them, and from the counseling and from the recreation and from each other.
This program all sounds wonderful. I hope that it's not based on any certain kind of limited funding, is it?
When this idea came forward from the chief of police and the city manager, they saw it as a tremendous plus to reach those at-risk youth that we're not reaching.
It didn't require the community to pay any more in taxes. Different departments within the city gave up parts of their budget to support this program.
After that first meeting I went to, I was talking to Denise. I go, do you think this would help me out? And she said, yeah, sure, come every Thursday. Now I think Denise is one of my best friends, you know.
They're saying, okay, I need help, I want help. Even though you're a cop, I may not, you know, we'll get over that because you can pay me. You can give me a job, so that's the carrot.
What happens for kids who get involved in our program is that they develop these relationships with law enforcement people who care about kids. Before, a kid would get sent off to probation or would get sent off to court. Now here's another opportunity. And many kids grasp onto this chance.
They said there's two roads. You either take the one that goes up or the one that goes down. This counterforce thing has actually helped me out a lot, you know, because it should let you know what the consequence is, you know, but it should let you make your own choice.
The kids can come into my office anytime that they want and get some of that help that they need, some direction. Let me give you some hope. Let me give you a job. Let's help you be successful.
It's hard, you know, but I know you gotta do it.
Whenever you make a child feel good about themselves, whenever they feel like they belong to something, and this organization does that, they walk different, they feel different. They handle difficulty, they handle conflict better.
A lot of kids, they really do want discipline. In fact, they're so hungry for discipline, they don't know what to do, you know, with themselves. And so there's no one, though, in their life that says, here's the line, if you cross it, here are the consequences.
And it's sort of like watering the ground, trusting that there's seeds underneath, and that if we water them, they'll grow into plants, and if we don't water them, that they won't appear. And yet to a realist, they'd look at that and think that's stupid, you're just watering bare earth.
Can I be blunt? Hell and heaven. That's the difference between then and now. I mean, this place was a madhouse.
I was ditching all the time. I was very disrespectful to everybody.
I had really bad grades, mostly F's. I was getting into fights a lot.
I would go into class, sit there for like 10 minutes, walk out the class.
My main purpose at Wild Youth was to bring about some type of cohesiveness among the community, the staff, and students. When I first arrived,
they had the mindset of having a dictator.
Before we had it was like a punishment for the students to come here. Like, I don't want to be here, and this school is for losers, and, you know, they were like ashamed of being here.
When we started the core value program, I got the idea from the track where there are 4 values, and those 4 values are wealth, wisdom, knowledge, and self-worth. Wealth is earning the good grades, and the earning the good grades leads to a good report card, which is the same as a mom and dad paycheck.
The core value things, you know, taught me to get on track and to be more responsible. And it let me understand that I could be a better person.
Every day
when YOU starts at 7:30 a.m., everyone, the teachers, when they come to YOU, the principals, the counselors, the students, we start running our daily lap. At the end of the day, we should cross the finish line if we adhere to all 4 core values.
I think they're putting the responsibility on the parents and the students. They're making them responsible of whatever they're doing. We noticed that the program started working when we didn't see any fights.
I know that I'm responsible for my actions, things that I do.
They know there's consequences for whatever they do. Bad, I should say, but whatever they do good, they are rewards.
Many students do not see the link between going to school today and getting a good job later.
Okay, period's almost over.
The classroom teachers, they give you bucks based on coming to class on time, bringing all the materials, notebook, pencils, doing their work, and being there every day. Some students may decide to spend their U-Bucks each Friday by buying paper, pens, calculators, candy. Other students say, you know, I'm going to save my U-Bucks because I'm going to save my U-Bucks for the big auction.
All people are prepared to bid. Please come up close to the stage.
They give you like little U-Bucks, and then we have an auction.
$550, you got competition. 600.
They auction like radios, TVs.
Once, twice, $750.
That gives them an incentive. Besides rewarding them for the good behavior, it's like they see something real.
That does a lot for somebody to know I earned this. I have something to show on my hard work.
50% of our students last year have gone back into the regular traditional schools because they got on track, they brought their grades up, and they transferred back into the regular traditional schools.
I want to become a probation officer. I'm looking forward to go to college by August.
I plan to graduate, go to college, get my bachelor's degree, and to become a teacher.
Do you realize how many parents sit in the presence of their families and watch whole programs and never say a word?
You know, when they see themselves as bad guys all the time, you know, as prisoners all the time, as dope dealers, as whores, as prostitutes all the time.
They get to think, well, gee, it's not just happening in my neighborhood, it's happening all over. This is the way you solve problems. This is the way you get what you want.
The impact of all of this material is to scare people. It's to convince people that chaos reigns, that there's no escape from violence, that there are no standards, that there's no enforcement mechanism in civilization. And that, of course, in its turn, encourages more violence.
Instead of pointing fingers and wagging, saying, now, it's your fault, what is there that's a proactive approach that can be taken?
To draw a straight line between African dance or jazz or Mexican music and crime prevention. It's not done like that. We are about building a healthy community. We have been meeting down here for the last 29 years and building programs in what we used to think of as music, dance, theater, and filmmaking. And now we are very much concerned about building skills in learning about human expression, human perception, and human creation. The East Bay Center cooperates with youth diversion and probation department programs to mental health centers, refugee services. So the art programs and the art teaching is not a matter of a frill for aesthetic or entertainment reasons. There needs to be a range of services within the community. Upstairs, you can hear traditional Mexican music and dance. We have about 6,000 or 7,000 classes a year, and they result in about 110 productions a year. In the other room, you'd see members of the Richmond Jazz Collective, both teenagers and adults practicing the standard practice era of bebop. And if you went into the theater, you would see Sike Ladzekpo, who is Anlo Ewe from Ghana, former director of the National Music and Dance Company there and a professor at UC Berkeley. and he is teaching traditional West African music and dance. And you would see a variety of private lessons, everything from guitar to voice, violin. There may be some other dance or theater rehearsal going on in the third studio downstairs. Time after time we have seen that many students who are labeled stupid or mean are not sure. They have elements of ignorance and they have elements of frustration and the ability to lash out. But they have a fantastic capacity to learn to behave well. And the arts are a celebration of human beings behaving well. So when you bring them back to behaving well, again and again and again, we see that people develop.
I make my mom cry. Now I'm thinking about, I feel so bad, way back there what I did. Now, she see me, I changed myself, she's happy to see me.
In every neighborhood there is hidden talent. There are organizers and teachers and performers, and there's a lot of creativity that one needn't reproduce the East Bay Center verbatim. One should find a way where you respect difference and similarity and understand it.
When I meet people who've had friends of theirs killed or who are in worse shape than me, it's very eye-opening.
Endless metaphors and stories within each of the students that I have encountered, and every one of them, if given the proper time, can create very powerful messages.
What we were doing was from our personal life stories, and it was real. Some of the things we're writing about were very violent and very scary, and they scare other people too. There's one, this guy wants his money, right? And he's like, give me my money, give me my money. And the other guy says, well, I don't have your money. And the first guy pulls out a gun and shoots him. It's very sudden, and like there's this big boom, and then stop the violence.
Stop the violence.
I think the main intent wasn't to shock people, it's just to say this is happening. But this place, it brings people together. I mean, I've met so many different kinds of people. I can talk to anybody now, and I'm not scared.
You needn't start with $1 million. You must start with a clear vision of program, and that every community will do it a little bit differently.
Adults need to ask themselves, what do I do with anger in my house? How do I handle it? The lessons you learned from your parents are being learned every minute of every day.
You're always angry!
You know, my mother, she never tried to do anything for us. She always told me that I was going to end up to be nothing. And as a mother, I don't know why they do that, you know?
When you get ditched by your parents, you know, where neither of them really want you to stick around, it's like the worst feeling in the world.
Here's a 14-year-old girl, and a guy, 25, comes along and says, you know, you're beautiful, I love you, take off your clothes. I mean, you know, it works every time.
Regardless of how we may feel about their pregnancy, the burden to the welfare system, all those kinds of things, we kind of set that a little bit aside and we say, you're going to be a mom. Let's help you be the best mom you can be.
And I found out I was pregnant, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I can't do that now. I can't do anything now. I can't go to college.
I saw no future. My dad saw no future. My mom saw no future. They weren't really hopeful about me, so.
Everybody's angry. Their school's angry, wants to get rid of them. They come here. We expect them to be pregnant.
These girls look to their baby to meet their needs. They're looking at this child to bring up their self-esteem. So it puts those babies at danger because that's not what babies do. They don't meet their parents' needs and they don't build their mom's self-esteem.
Part of our real thrust is protecting baby. Give these girls some ideas about what that baby needs before she's confronted with the stresses and strains of parenting.
This is a time when they're very anxious to be a good parent.
I've learned a lot. Before I came here, I knew nothing, absolutely nothing about parenting. They arranged the people to come in and speak to us. I learned so much about from how to bathe a child to what to do when they're crying.
It's letting me know a lot of wrong things and a lot of right things to do for my child.
Ladies, today in Sarah Center, we're going to talk about discipline.
We do a lot of role play. So, I think that plants something, it kind of sets something inside them.
What are you going to do?
Now, honey, I don't want you doing that. You're going to get lost. Does it make a difference if you get down here? Does it feel different when I talk to you from here?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't
you
feel
on that level.
and I'm not as scary down, okay? Because we're asking these girls to do a lot of difficult things. Don't eat junk food, don't drink, don't smoke, don't do drugs.
We have a lot of girls that have come who were using cocaine, marijuana, whatever. They quit the minute that they're pregnant. I think these girls have a lot more respect for themselves and for life than, people think. You gotta give them credit though. Kids have a lot of hope. Kids don't give up.
I learned my mistake. I learned from it. I'm not gonna go out and have another baby like before.
It's just set in my mind. I'm gonna finish school, I'm gonna finish college, I'm gonna be what I wanna be.
I haven't met a kid yet that does not want to improve their station in life. They want to be happy, they want to be healthy, they want to be doing the right things.
We need to have those good partnerships so that we know how to collectively bear the pain and tighten our belt and be realistic together.
We had one church with a barber. He said, "What can I do?" Well, he went in there and cut kids' hair, and it saved the family's money. It was an incredible relationship building thing.
Wow, I guess it is working. The students stop fighting. They start going to class. They start talking back to teachers. It was just amazing to see the turnaround within 30 days.
If you give a child, or girl, teen mom, whatever you want to call her, hope for a future, they grab it and go.
Well, I can't just give up right now. I mean, I've come too far, first of all, and I just can't give up right now because then I won't have an example to give to my baby.
They're there for you, they're like, oh yeah, you can do it, It's like, you gotta have faith, it's like, you gotta tell yourself you can do it.
If I want it done, I have to work for it. And it showed me that my work will pay off. I got good grades, I got A's and B's, I can't believe it. My mom's proud of me, and all my family's proud of me. There'd be something missing in my life if I wasn't performing or playing music or dancing.
Now here it's like, my grades went up, I got a 3.6 GPA.
I see myself as a strong, independent, intelligent, ambitious young lady. I think I have a lot going for me, and I have a lot of potential, and I'm going to use it to the fullest. And one of these days, you guys will be voting for me for president. That's what's going to happen.
And what began to happen as a result of that was there began to have a sense of hope. That as these resources came back to the community, a third wave of resources, after the private sector, after the public sector, a third wave, which is really the most important, began to emerge, and that was neighbors themselves. Neighbors coming out from behind their security systems and their burglar bars and saying, we need to be a part of this taking back our neighborhood.
We started thinking, how could we do this a different way? How could we do parenting a different way? What if we did it with parents before their children were born, before they had developed abusive or neglectful relationships with their children? Maybe we'd be ahead of the game.
And I think the idea that mentorship within a community happens from people who are world-renowned and people who are renowned on the block. And so it's the interchange that we as performers and artists and teachers get from working with young students that creates a really special environment.
But everybody recognized, because most of the people that work for the city of Vacaville live in the city of Vacaville, they want to make a commitment to our future here. They want to make it a nice place to live.
If you turn the tables around and let them make the decision, say, okay, you can come to school, stay on track, and this is what you have at the finish line. Or you can stay in the streets and you have jail or the cemetery at the finish line, they will make the right decision and they'll come back to school.